Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is on pace to do much worse than The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi in theaters on its opening weekend. So it's on track to make $175 million in its opening weekend here. And they kind of break it down a little bit in here. We're going to kind of get into this a little bit, but I'm not going to get too nerdy with it, but let's go ahead and see what they have to say here. So the first round of box office estimates for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker was released on Wednesday, with trackers estimating an opening of at least 175 million and as much as 200 to 210 million when it opens on December 20th. Now this is still worse. Even if it did make 200 to 210 million in its opening weekend, that would still be worse than The Last Jedi and especially The Force Awakens, which just goes to show that there is an anger, a grudge towards Star Wars. It's bigger than people want to give it credit for. There are so many people that aren't happy with the direction that Star Wars is going in. There's so many people that aren't interested in this trilogy anymore. You can see that from the toy sales as well. There is just not interest in this trilogy as much as there was when The Force Awakens came out and leading up to The Last Jedi. So, yeah. It's obvious that it's not going to do as well as those movies. And, I definitely don't think that it's going to be on the positive side of this estimate. I think it's going to be much more towards the 175 million range. My guess is probably going to make like 180 million. That's kind of my guess at this point. By comparison, Disney's previous installments in their Star Wars trilogy each opened to well above 200 million. In 2015, The Force Awakens opened to a then record 248 million, while 2017's The Last Jedi opened to 220 million, which today still ranks as the fourth highest opening of all time. As with all of their major releases, that makes sense because going into The Last Jedi, there was a lot of hype around it. I remember when the trailers for The Last Jedi started to come out and people were very excited for that movie. People were very excited to see where the story was going to be going. I was among those people. Jeremy was among those people. There were so many people that were excited to see where The Last Jedi was going to be taking the story. And so, yeah, of course it did good in its opening weekend, but it still didn't do as good as The Force Awakens. As with all of their major releases, Disney has tried to keep expectations from getting out of control. 2019 has seen several films fall well short of tracker projections, particularly recent flops like Dr. Sleep, among others. We might as well just name them: Charlie's Angels, Terminator Dark Fate. There's a lot of flops that have been coming out recently. Also, unlike the past Star Wars December releases, other studios are not steering their holiday releases clear of Rise of Skywalker, which also goes to show that the other studios know that Star Wars is not as big as it was in 2015. We have Jumanji coming out in the same... I think Jumanji's coming out like a week... Yeah. No, it's coming out 1 week before, I think. Let's see. Sony will be releasing Jumanji: The Next Level, the sequel to a film that grossed nearly $1 billion against The Last Jedi, 1 week before this film comes out. So yeah, Jumanji: The Next Level is coming out a week before Rise of Skywalker. Cat, it's coming out on the same weekend as Rise of Skywalker. There are many movies that are coming out in December that otherwise, if this movie was coming out in, let's say, 2015... these movies would not be coming out like so close to Rise of Skywalker. They'd be giving it a lot of space because they know that nothing will even come close to being competition for that movie. But since we're in 2019 and Star Wars is in a much different place than it was in 2015, they aren't as worried about it as they probably would have been, to be honest, if Star Wars was in a positive place like it was in 2015. But regardless of the unique factors, Rise of Skywalker will arguably be the most scrutinized release of the year. This is Disney's first theatrical Star Wars release since Solo: A Star Wars Story bombed at the box office with just 392 million gross worldwide, which is horrible, especially for a Star Wars film. The lowest total ever for the 42-year franchise, even without inflation adjustment. The disappointing figures led Disney to recalibrate their plans for Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. So that's pretty much all that we have right now. But the fact is that Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is not going to be making as much in his opening weekend as The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. And I believe in his total box office run, it's not even going to come close to making as much as those two did. I think that Rise of Skywalker is going to end up making around 1.3 billion. That's kind of my guess at this point. Maybe 1.4. So even that is still worse than The Last Jedi. It's still worse. It's much worse than The Force Awakens. And it just goes to show that the excitement, the hype, the interest in this trilogy has just continued to go downhill. And we all know why. I don't need to get into why that's happening. There's so many different factors into why that's happening. Everything from the studio not respecting the fans or anything like that. In fact, outright going after fans and things like that. Disrespect towards the characters. All of that type of stuff. Bad leadership from Kathleen Kennedy. All of these things have made Star Wars into a complete disaster. So with that being said, let me know in the comments below what you think about this video, about the projections for Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Let me know in the comments below what you think this film is going to make in its opening weekend. And I will talk to you all very soon in another video. Talk to you later. Bye.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy from geeksandgamers.com, and if you're a fan of Geeks and Gamers, please go to our website, visit our merchandise store. We have t-shirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, tank tops, and in the very near future, we're going to have many more products for you to choose from. So thank you for the support. We appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and we will talk to you later.